curiosity right.
Mad Bricks webcast,
Where the human spirit flies. Mad Bricks webcast, where the human spirit flies.
Hey, welcome to the MedBix webcast. This is Ramana Raju. I'm the host. Today is extremely special for me today because I tell you, I'm going to explain to you why. There is a lot of nostalgical, nostalgia for me. There's a lot of memories of Canada. I moved from United States, India, a small village in India to a small village directly to Montreal, Canada. So I'm interviewing a guest from Montreal, Canada today. There is a lot of history for me in Montreal. I really, um, that's the only place probably I like to snow a little bit better than any other place, But anyway, without a further ado, let me introduce my co-host, joining from with a black jacket and a red dress. She's joining from red lips and a brilliant woman and bold Dr. Susan Davis. Welcome.
Ramona, your introductions are something else.
Yeah. you know, Today is a somber day for me, Susan. It is my brother exactly died in the same, this week actually, in 4 years ago. He is from Canada. He is a he was a brilliant engineer. He did a master's in Toronto University of Toronto engineering, and then he became nuclear engineer, and he traveled around Romania, South Korea, Japan. He was traveled around the country, around the world to install nuclear reactors. It is one of the brilliant design engineers. Thank you, Navya. That's how you can move on. But he brought a radio. I put an article there, and he made a small radio when I was a small village. Our village has no running water, no electricity, and then at the time my brother came down to brought a shoebox radio. He made it. Everybody was surprised. We are in India is a 50 years behind the rest of the world at the time. Our village is another 50 years behind. you know. So so we are like 100 years behind in the world up there. So that my brother was a rare gem, a brilliant engineer. His kids are all over the world, and now they're all here. And he has two daughters and one son. They're all in technology, here in Silicon Valley and Seattle, Microsoft, and all those places. But my brother was indelible mark on me. He was when he was visiting every summer. I get emotional because every summer he comes and teach me mathematics, and he was very kind and a gentleman. He's my father's quality he has. He was a teacher, extraordinary teacher, and he was patient. He never criticized. He wants to teach something, and always he was a brilliant engineer. Um, so he passed away on bacterial meningitis. He visited at some temple, and he was retired in India, and then he was still working in the last minute at the nuclear reactor in Tokamak, Quebec. And then he retired, moved to India, and then passed away there. It's 4 years ago. But he is our family's like a father after father for us. But anyway, thank you for joining. But I went to Concordia, where the school, same school as Amanda Spilkin. She's our guest today. She's joining from Montreal, Canada. Let me introduce her. Let me talk. About the little introduction about her. Today on MedBix webcast, we welcome Amanda Spilkin from Concordia University in Montreal, Canada, where is my alma mater is. Amanda is a PhD candidate in mechanical engineering, working in the intersection of aerospace, robotics, and healthcare innovation. Her research focused on autonomous ultrasound imaging for remote, rural, and even space environments. I used to do a lot of remote ultrasound machine. I used to do rural ultrasound services. She previously worked on the mixed reality surgical systems and medical device design. Amanda also brings experience from Pratt& Whitney Aerospace Engineering and Space Health Research Today, we explore the future of intelligent imaging systems, rural healthcare access, and how machine learning may transform medical diagnostics worldwide. Welcome, Amanda Spilkin.
For having me. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the Medmix webcast. You're truly to honor to have you with your such a wonderful background. You're from my school, Concordia. Tell us, if I miss you anything about Concordia, let me know your background. If I miss anything, just you can give us a little bit rundown on your background a little bit more.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure. And you mentioned nostalgia, so I'm happy to share this moment with you as well. So I'll give you a little bit of walkthrough through, I guess, my career path and what led me to being here today. So from childhood, I was always interested in many, many different things. The two things that really stood out to me was the human brain and health. And then I liked anything that had to do with space and aviation. So throughout my life, I felt like I had multiple different callings, but in the end, it really converged to these two things. And I think I'm really fortunate to be here. I started off at Concordia in actually a bachelor's of psychology, focusing on neuroscience. I was really, really interested in the brain. Throughout my time in that department, I actually started doing research on the brain, took a lot of courses on pharmacology. And at the end, I realized I actually really want to go into physics because this is how I'm going to understand really the fundamentals of everything, how medical imaging works, and I'll be able to branch out into different things. So I ended up going to do a second bachelor at Concordia. I focused on biophysics. I ended up working in brain imaging, so functional near-infrared spectroscopy, MRI, did a master's in brain imaging as well. And then after that, I started working at Zimmer Biomet. I was working on mixed reality. I applied for orthopedic surgery. And in that time, I had an amazing opportunity to join a PhD project. So this is what I'm working on today, as well as working in aerospace and defense. I was very fortunate to land on it in a project where I'm working on ultrasound technology for rural and extreme environments. So that's a little bit of what brings me here today.
How exciting is that? And it doesn't get a whole lot more extreme or rural than space.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Montreal to space. So pretty amazing. And all Romana's most favorite topics: physics, spectroscopy.
Yeah.
Mine a little rural medicine, a little CPR. The bio stuff.
Yes.
Mixed reality. We've got lots to talk about. Where do you want to start, Romana?
Amanda, just I wanted to get reminiscent of my stay in Montreal, Canada.
Yes,
I used to
please.
live in Bussard. That all one of the great thing about Concordia was a rival to the McGill University, right? So, they attracted, always I did like McGill guys, they're always, but in Montreal, Concordia he attracted a lot of powerful, very smart people. Professors are very smart. I mean, I was surprised how a small school like that he attracted a very powerful people in the world. They are the first ones, I think, attracted a lot of international professors and all over the world. I mean, that was head of the Department of Computer Science is my supervisor, Radhakrishnan. He was there. He wrote several books on computer science at the time. But anyway, getting back to the rural medicine, rural space, let me ask you a question on you worked on the cross section of space. These are all those things. I interviewed actually two people. Shauna Pandya was an astronaut from Canada. She is the extreme medicine they call. And then, wife of Jeremy Hansen, Catherine Hansen, was on my podcast.
Yeah.
Space is the ultimate test for medical remote, as you can get.
Yes.
What did you learn in space? How do you, I'm always wondered, I asked Dr. Sanjay Gupta from Atlanta. I used to live in Atlanta. How did they do surgeries if there is appendectomy or something in space? How do they know ultrasound? that's the questions I had. So you
Yeah.
may be the best person to answer all these questions. So go
Yeah.
ahead and,
It's a big jump from a appendix to what were the two examples you
Yeah.
gave?
That
An appendix
there's a
and an
wide
ultrasound.
range, so kind of I think I'll focus back in on medical imaging because that's where my expertise are. And also I want to note that I am not a physician, so I am a physicist and practicing to be an engineer as well. So the I guess where I can go back to in my entire career is when I was in my master's, I founded the Space Health Division at Concordia University. It's part of Space Concordia. It's a larger organization that does research on robotics, rocketry. Space Health is like the newest edition. But so if I look at my time, developing projects while I was there, what we found as kind of like the nucleus of space health is really on ensuring that astronauts can do the work that they are assigned to do, their missions, right? And during that time, microgravity takes its course. So the body, no matter what, we are changing all the time, whether we're on Earth, but even more so in microgravity, because this is simply an environment where the human body, evolves differently over time. So what we really focused on in the Space Health Division was really looking at, number one, certain contributors to changes in the immune response. Number two, we were looking at also changes in cardiovascular system. And as another layer, we were looking at certain methods that can be used in case any accidents happen. So we were looking at methods for CPR as well. So in terms of, why are all these different avenues of research important for maintaining astronaut health and ensuring their security? It's really that you want to ensure that you're giving them the best experience, ensuring their health, monitoring the changes over time, and ensuring that they are going to safely return to Earth. So when we talk about surgery, yes, there is definitely research going into this as well. But first of all, it's not my area of research, but the current investigations taking place, we're looking at first covering the basis of how we can ensure that proper monitoring is done to avoid having to do such extreme interventions. Second, I really hope we do go there one day and that it could be done successfully. I think there are some really interesting groups doing research at the moment, especially at the CNES in France. But I think that's for another conversation. So,
because that's where we're going, right, Amanda? I mean, when we say remote and extreme environments,
yes,
you live in Canada. There's areas of Canada, the further north you go, the more, get up towards the Arctic, and it gets. But when you're going into space,
yes,
we're all trying to get to space. I mean, Canada's in the news for their new space station. I'm making that word up because I'm very new to this, but because that's where we're going, right? We're working in space. We're doing more research in space. They're looking at living in space. So you and your teams are very cutting edge with this research. So opening a cavity to me sounds like, oh my gosh, how? Like you said, that's pretty crazy, it seems right now, but it will happen. So for right now,
we're on our way.
right?
Yeah.
But you're working with robotics. So I love watching your career, reading about your career, starting in your master's work, and then into your PhD work, and now in your job, pulling that all together, robotics, mixed reality, ultrasound and imaging. So give us an example of something that your research with all, I think it all is combining. It's brilliantly combined. It's crazy how the world works.
It's really converging. Yeah. So the thing that's really interesting, because it's kind of in development right now, is so my colleague and I, we started the Healthcare for Extreme and Rural Environments Research Hub right now. And this came around 3 years into our PhD. We started looking at, what is it that there's a lot of research in AI. There's a lot of research in ultrasound, right? And there's a lot of groups also that are putting the two together. What is going to make this different in terms of like deploying it on the field? What do we really want to help people with, right? So number one, accessibility to healthcare. If you live in any cosmopolitan city, going for a cardiac ultrasound, it's quite a standard procedure. You can walk into any emergency room and you can find a doctor that is going to be able to perform at least the basic cardiac POCUS protocol. What do we need to look at more, right? So what are the things that the rural population suffers from most, right? So we know, looking at Canada, we have around 20% of our population that is living in an area considered to be rural. Okay. We know that only 8% of doctors are able to serve these communities. And out of that 8%, how many physicians would actually be able to conduct cardiac POCUS, right? So we have to start looking at not necessarily looking to place more doctors in these areas, because the needs for these populations can be very widespread. So what can we do in order to empower these populations to have access to that kind of monitoring? So this is where we draw the parallel between rural communities and space. So we want to be able to place the solutions in the end user's hands. So that's really where we see the parallel between those that live in rural communities that could learn to perform their own ultrasound by having constant guidance, and then astronauts who also have very varying profiles. They're not all physicians, right? But they all have the ability to learn, and they all have the ability to have an interface that can guide them for this type of, I guess I could call it a monitoring session, right? So our development really started off with our robotic platform, where we were learning how to do, using the robotic arm, we were doing telerobotic ultrasound. So we would set up a station that would be near the robotic arm. We were working with the GE robot. It's fairly large. It can cover the entire torso. But we were working first, due to safety reasons, we were working with a phantom, a cardiac phantom. So here, what we managed to accomplish was the training a model for classification of different cardiac views that can recognize all the views that are necessary for cardiac POCUS. So this was step number one. Step number two, we've moved on to humans. So we have 3 different databases, one that we're creating internally, and we're identifying the different cardiac views, cardiac structures in each view, and we want to empower really creating a system and empower the end user to be able to recreate this manual cardiac ultrasound scan in order to be able to record and register every single cardiac POCUS view, and then later on be able to send their scan to a doctor. So instead of being in a hospital, right?
I have to ask, I'm sorry, Ramona, really quickly.
Yes.
First thing that always comes to mind when I see the robot and getting great views, what happens if the view isn't as well as you need and you would love to have some contrast media to get that image just the way the physician wants it? Have you started, because I know you have CPR in your history here, so here you see where I'm going. The rise of contrast, the rise of ultrasound is going up. Therefore, so is the contrast media usage. Therefore, so is anaphylaxis to arrest, 5 minutes or less, often from contrast media injection. So do you envision, you and your team, another robot putting in an IV? Like, how are we going to get the contrast media in them?
So okay, I do see where you're going. So in terms of anything that's invasive, no. So this is, I would say that's more interventional, right? In terms of where we'd like to go, because we're drawing the parallel also, do we use, do Do we use robotic arm for rural areas? How difficult is that to get that out there, right? You need maintenance, right? You need a team that's really overseeing it. In terms of manual ultrasound, this is quite different, right? We have, with different AI models, we have the ability to create models trained on super resolution. So basically, tweaking the intensities, the gains, adding noise, reducing noise, adding artifacts, reducing artifacts, removing artifacts. These are all different methods used in AI in order to, let's say, extend data
better
set.
images.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and also, we are working with 3 different data sets. They're quite large, right? But the idea is that over time, the more images, the more videos you have of different ultrasound scans, the more people you cover, right, in your data sets, the more diverse the demographic. Over time, as you're training your models, right, you will be able to use this system anywhere in the world, right? Because our goal is to cover all demographics, all ages, and we are currently working on our first step is really separating the data sets so that we can properly tag, properly annotate, properly test also, right? In order to ensure the highest accuracy in our system.
Amanda, is the data sets all publicly available? These are all, is it proprietary things?
Nope. So we have a first data set that is available. It's for a cardiac phantom. That one was published. We will have one part of our human data set also available once our research is published. So if you'd like, I can always follow up afterwards and I can make that public and share it with you.
Interesting, yeah, but
Yeah.
very interesting. Let us talk about ultrasound. Just to go back to the extreme ultrasound situation. I used to own ultrasound imaging company. I used to send a page, the ultrasound machine to the rural areas of Georgia. So the
Yes.
problem I had is not the doctors. I can always find a doctor to read it, remote whenever. But the technicians is a huge challenge.
Yes.
How do you find ultrasound technician? Then the rules came in. They want a bachelor's degree. Most of the technicians don't have a bachelor's degree. So United States RDCS is a very strict. They passed a
Yes.
stringent laws, and then it became much more harder for us to find the technicians. Actually, there is so much severe shortage of technicians. That's one of the things I'm working on actually. So that is how do you. So this is operator dependent. The technician is so important. Radiologist used to tell me the most important is not me, is my technician, because he sees
Yeah.
the pictures he takes the pictures. So we are how do you get away from that when you work in extreme environment like a space or in rural areas? You don't have that luxury of this technician experience.
Absolutely.
How do
Yeah.
you solve that problem? Tell me again, how do you solve that?
Yes. So, in terms of how do you solve it, I mean, I think that this is something you figure out over time. Right now, our research group, so we have gone through a validation phase where we've interviewed many, many, many different people, physicians, sonographers, engineers, medical device experts. And the thing that we have noticed is I think number one is the level of skill required to properly assess cardiac ultrasound. So there is a very steep learning curve, right? So in terms of the number of technicians, yes, it definitely is an issue. But the number of very experienced technicians or even very experienced physicians, many pathologies are actually identified when you are extremely experienced. So yes, machines, ultrasound systems can capture certain parameters. If you see that you have a parameter that lands in a range that's acceptable, you won't necessarily think of going further, right? So what we have noticed through a lot of our conversations, and we're actually going to be continuing these conversations by doing a tour of northern Quebec later on this summer, and we will continue this. But what we have found so far is that the skill is the most, it's the most limiting factor when you want to look at can someone perform a, I would say, informative cardiac ultrasound. So, yes, you have a question.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's making me think. So the goal would be to identify the patient in the first place. I mean, to have advanced diagnostics, we don't want them to have to travel every single time. But for now, I hate when I say this to my own team. So for now, this is good enough for now. But for now, you know, if you had to say the top 3 things that would flag, you know, a finding. So we're going to look at an ejection fraction, you know, of, you know, less than 30. Okay, ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner. You're going to have to fly to town or drive to town. So I can see that we'd like those to be, you know, far more detailed, you know, but we don't have contrast media. The skill set is steep, you said yourself, and I'm so glad you said that. We were speaking last night about ultrasounds, and I kept saying the training, and Romana said, oh, they'll be able to do it. If it's untrained and unskilled, and the angle and the positioning, it's kind of almost like why you're doing it. But my point is could I'm sure you could pick your top 3 flags that would flag a patient that they would have to come in, and it's enough to get the information for now to get them to a higher level of care if needed.
Yes. So definitely. So one of the things that we have seen, and we're actually implementing this from a human perspective, a sonographer, a physician will always do if they see something is not correct, you know, not within, let's say, an acceptable range. Redundancy of different views, you know, to confirm a certain measurement or parameter is essential. This, again, requires skill. You need to know where to place your probe. You need to know exactly, anatomy across people is different, right? You need to know exactly what cardiac view is going to give you a parameter that you're looking for. So this is something that I would say is like probably number 1, redundancy of parameters across multiple views. That's 1. Number 2, my research focuses primarily on the aortic valve. Depending on the population you're looking at, you know, if you look at older population, you may see stenosis, you may see calcification. And how does this look like in ultrasound? You might have brighter spots, you might have darker spots, you may have a diameter that seems to be off. But again, because you have one parameter that's off, you need to check multiple, right? In order to really put something in a category of healthy versus unhealthy, right? So I would say that that's number 2. It's really like understanding what you're seeing, and this is why we're developing the model, the system that we are. And as a third one, I mean, it comes down to human factors a lot, right? Are you able to properly scan your patient? Are you in conditions where you can have good angle? Do you have, is the participant feeling comfortable, not comfortable? And in rural environments, I mean, and extreme environments, we're expecting that perhaps something has happened that you will not be able to do your ultrasound scan in a classic way. So this is a human factors perspective too, where you need to plan ahead for rapid movements, someone being in pain,
anxiety, popping out with hives, you know,
yes.
The percentage of patients who've never had a reaction before, the anxious patient is more likely to have a reaction. And we're talking about prior to even using a contrast media. So anxiety alone, Romana, putting a patient where they know they have to come in, they're not familiar with anything we're talking about. They're already worried about their heart. Now we're trying to put them in a weird position. And if there's any hesitation on the sonographers, you know, you got to understand, how does it feel to be in that room, to be the patient? It's really tricky. So I actually teach sonographers and nurses and providers about their bedside manner when it comes to scanning and
That's
doing this
fantastic.
imaging,
Yeah.
because you're not going to get a good scan. You know, an anxious person and an anxious patient, you're not going to get the imaging that you wanted.
What is the role of artificial intelligence in this reducing the dependency on the operators like technicians? Is that I see in Silicon Valley that is moving in that direction quite a bit actually. You know, the as you saw exo imaging and butterfly, these are the units coming up with a more. So do you think that will be more AI is going to play a role in that direction?
Yes. So I absolutely am a believer that AI will be helping a lot in the future. I know that it's a tricky question. I have worked in the world of medical device development. In Canada, I'm not sure if in the States it's different, but you know, if I look at standards and regulations, like, you know, these are all recent things when it comes to like AI in medical devices that are commercially available. But I am a believer that eventually this will be AI will be implemented in probably I would say almost a majority of devices, because if we look at the amount of information that's available to us, um, obviously some of it is privately owned, but there are many groups that are making it publicly available, and it is incredible the amount of advancement that we've seen in recent years when it comes to medical imaging. Um, I think what I would like to mention also is if we look at this issue of the learning curve, um, machine learning and AI will play a huge role in the training of sonographers and physicians. So
Oh,
I don't want to say that it's
Jeremy
going
or
to.
Amanda, who's training the agents? Who's training the agents? Who's watching the agents?
Well, actually, even on
The
our team,
AI watching the AI, Amanda?
the sonographers and physicians are the ones actually validating the work that many people put into annotating the data
Good.
sets, right? So it's a full circle. I don't want to say it's ever going to replace doctors, though, because I do
No.
think that that's fundamentally there's going to be a second layer of
Yeah.
having to confirm a diagnosis.
Eyes on the prize for
Eyes on the
sure.
prize, and I think it's great. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone's got to watch who's getting watched. I mean, because it happens every day. We were talking about it even again just last night, you know, but the volume that the physicians and the sonographers are having to look when the AI can churn and churn and churn. So,
Yes.
you know what? I can't imagine, and we've had guests on here that work in compliance. I mean, so the layers of compliance and the policies
Yes.
that need to be written throughout the
Mhm.
compliance process need to be rewritten about every 5 seconds
It is
right
so
now.
complex. It is so
So,
complex, and I'm trying to keep track of it because it's our work, but it is changing so rapidly. Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
You know, Quebec is itself is an extreme environment. In northern Quebec, if you go a little bit further, you don't have to go to space. You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
you don't have to
yeah.
go to space
You know,
even for
I went to see my friends in Regina, Saskatchewan. Oh my God, there's a ice tundra up there. So you see, extreme. I'm not saying anything bad about it, but that's a different world. Let me ask you a question on the ultrasound aortic valve situation. Why you're focusing on aortic valve, not mitral valve, perhaps mitral valve or any other valve? So what is special about it?
yeah. Well,
oh, that's a
so
good question.
as we discussed actually, so like our first layer is really looking at the most important views in cardiac focus, right? So we really want to ensure that At least what we cover on a first level is anything that would be, let's say, performed in the emergency department. So we want a overview of the cardiac POCUS scan. Now, really to dig in deeper, the aortic valve is quite complex, and it's responsible really for, a huge portion of how our body functions, really. So it's actually, there's two sides. There's two levels to why we are focusing on the aortic valve. So the first one is that when you have a bicuspid aortic valve, it is considered a congenital heart disease, and someone can live with a bicuspid aortic valve for almost their entire life and sometimes never even know about it. However, once let's say as your heart starts deteriorating, your health deteriorates quite rapidly. So we focus in on the aortic valve really to look at if we can, as a first step towards assessment, can we assess that the aortic valve is properly structured? So anatomy is important. So we look at does the heart have three commissures? Does the aortic valve have three commissures, three raphe, three leaflets? Structurally, if we see this, okay, we can go on to the next step. Next thing is we are looking at, as we're looking at an older population, you may see other things that could be spotted in ultrasound imaging, which is the differences in intensities that could be due to calcification. So as someone gets older, it could be more common that someone's heart becomes more rigid. Could it be stenosis? Could it be calcification? When we're looking at these images, do we see any parameters, that are quickly identifiable, right? Do we have anything that we pick up in in the images through intensity, through let's say when we're looking at a video and we see the motion of the heart, is there anything that stands out in particular in order to assess rigidity? So stenosis, calcification, do we have movement as expected, let's say? So these are, I would say, the main two reasons we're focusing on the aortic valve.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amanda, you're the future of the physics. When I came to Silicon Valley, the physics is like doctors and medicine is physics is like a far from is like a Sanskrit or a different language and Polish language. Maybe
The Polish wisely chose.
it is a very important. Actually, more you understand healthcare, more the physics plays such an important role, not only in the engineering side of it, and then also the system side of it, system health side of it. It plays a critical role in the physics now, because that American healthcare system is a broken healthcare system, is a chaos beyond repair in my view. So this is where physics plays a role. In physics has a very important role it plays. So I wanted to present a topic on it a little bit. It may be interest to you because that is something that Navia, can you put that? That is actually something connection with the Concordia also a little bit. Let me introduce you. This is I always think Amanda, you can comment anything anytime. You can make a comment. It's just a very short presentation. So this is I wrote a book actually during the COVID. Is a science is not a subject. Science must be a lifestyle. In that book, it's I'm not talking about mathematics. It's a mathematics of how that hidden life secrets hidden in the mathematics. That's what either biology and frequencies. Susan talks about frequencies all the times. I'm going to talk about 100 years ago. A man from India changed the world of mathematics forever. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. His name is Srinivasa Ramanujan. Srinivasa Ramanujan was born in a temple town in Tamil Nadu, India. It is a temple town. It's all the temples around there. He was born in 1887. and he was born into the, you know, very, at that time the house has no electricity, no running water. He was born in a relatively poor family, not extreme poor, but is a Brahmin, and he was learning all the Vedas and all those things. He was very influenced by Hindu gods and all those things at that time. So he was brilliant, brilliant in mathematics. He learned. He was he loved numbers. He not only see the numbers, but he lived in the numbers. He brought the life back from numbers. Number theory is one of the strangest thing. Ramanujan summation is, if you add all the integers, is a one, minus 1/12. It's a very strange mathematics. He bought it. So he threw out so many equations, and he's sending all his equations to different people. And then he sent one of those letters to Hardy, G.H. Hardy, his supervisor in England. His name is G.H. Hardy. He is a very well-known mathematician from Trinity College, from London. He sent Ramanujan sent a letter to him, and then he was stunned to see that equations that even beyond his understanding of these equations, he cannot be fraud. This guy has to be real. So he invited him to England. He doesn't have a degree. He has no formal education. He's just reading from his backyard and doing in the living room all his mathematics. So he moved to England in 1914. From through ship. In fact, Ramanujan went to England, and so then all of the professors in mathematics department. That is where Trinity College, where the Newton was a professor in 200 years before that, is that Newton was a professor in the Trinity College, Sir Isaac Newton. So they asked him, the questions are very similar. J.H. Hardy and all these people are surprised how he arrived at these equations, which is our mystery. What he said that is in the dreams, that a God is coming and giving him all these equations. That's why they asked it. The conversation went in the similar way. Is what God is? He said that he gave a picture, name of the goddess is Namagiri. I have a photo. So the Western people with the logical mind said, "Oh, forget about it. Sorry, we asked you." So it was a very strange combination of this intuitive mind and a religious kind of a scripture kind of world he's in. But if anybody else, they would have dismissed him in a second. There's a crackpot. But listen, what he said. The Ramanujan is one of the Michio Kaku said that is the strangest mind in the science, entire history of science. Unfortunately, I can't read that. So now I can read. Michio Kaku is one of the scientists, and you see on TV. Srinivasa Ramanujan was the strangest man in all of mathematics, probably in the entire history of science. He has been compared to the bursting supernovae, illuminating the darkest, most profound corners of mathematics. That Stephen Wolfram, Alpha Math, he wrote books on Alpha. He is a platform called Alpha Math and all those things. He's a very well-known mathematician, richest mathematician probably. Ramanujan's greatest skill was an uncanny ability to tell what was significant. Stephen Wolfram, and then Ken Mono is actually connected with me. He's a professor in Virginia Tech, and now he used to be in Atlanta. I interact with him actually a little bit here and there. But Ken Mono, professor of mathematics, he said that he studied the Ramanujan papers in detail. He tells a story, very moving story. He was not a good student. Ken Mono his father was a mathematics professor. One day he received a letter from Ramanujan's wife after passing away 100 years. After long passing of Ramanujan, his wife sent him a letter because they supported all the mathematicians gave contributions there, and she sent a letter. And he saw first time his father was crying in tears, and it was moved him, and then he became a mathematician. Ken Ono is a Silicon Valley advisor here, and he said that he was also actually a consultant for a movie called Infinity, Man You Knew Infinity, Ramanujan's movie. So he said that Ramanujan papers in detail says Ramanujan's work in mathematics is the epitome of intuition. For a brief window of time, 5 years, he lit the world of mathematics on fire. But I'm not talking about mathematics here. Is a mathematics is a, the powerful intuition mathematics turned into modern computation. Actually, they went to Haifa, Israel. They put a Ramanujan machine. Is a full of Ramanujan's algorithms. Haifa is a religious place. They have all the religions, Jewish, Islam, and the Druid religion. All the religions are there. They put a Ramanujan, who is a very religious guy. He put his machine in the Technion, Israeli Institute of Technology. They installed the Ramanujan machine with the Ramanujan's algorithms. These are algorithms, that if you during COVID-19, they want to find the molecule for the COVID-19, the IBM supercomputer in the Oak Ridge, they did that. So what they did was, if you don't put these algorithms, you would have gone to 10,000 years. You could not find the molecules. Because of these algorithms, Ramanujan Fourier transformations, they really reduced the time to the minimum, and within a week they produced the all the molecules that can be potential treatment for COVID-19. So Ramanujan machine is a mathematical algorithms, is a different world. But Ramanujan loved numbers. He's a numbers. He lived in numbers, and biology is full of numbers, right? We have a trillion, billions of neurons, trillions of cells, and trillions of neural connections. So this is a playground for Ramanujan. Ramanujan loved millions, billions, trillions, and infinities. He loved all of them with a love. He produced mathematics related to that. So what he did was, that's biology is full of, Susan talks about all the time, invisible, frequencies. Frequencies are powerful. It tells you the story of life, that actually the Ramanujan, the frequency, the reality is hidden. That hidden frequencies will give us a window into the life's secrets. In fact, that's what the algorithms do. That is for Ramanujan, find out the secrets through his mathematical algorithms, biomedical intelligence. He can use it for the purpose of, he is so let me tell you something interesting. So right now, if you want to know right now, EEG epilepsy, for example, if you want to find out the epilepsy causing cells in EEG, see what is special about Ramanujan mathematics. It can find the weak signals. Amanda, you may like it. It is a asymmetric patterns it finds. It extracts the very, very weak signals and weak patterns. It recognizes it. Fourier transformation, you need a clear signals, right? As an engineer, you can that part. But the Ramanujan is specialized in finding out. That's where the HRB also, they use a lot of Ramanujan algorithm inspired algorithms, because they are all complex mathematics they use to heart rate variability side. All this became popular because of Ramanujan inspired mathematics. Now, Concordia connection, Amanda. It will. Do you know this Professor John McKay?
I don't.
Yeah, he died in 2022. Actually, he was emeritus professor in computer science in Concordia. I saw him. I took a class, but actually, he found an equation. It's called. It looks like a very strange equation. Is a 196,884 equals to 196,883 plus 1. He's a number theorist in Concordia University. John McKay is a British mathematician. What that is, what he found is amazing. What he found was that Ramanujan during he moved. He was only for a short period of time. He was in England. Then he was sick. He fell sick, and then he moved back to India. Last final days, he produced some startling mathematics. It's called modular functions. Modular functions. These are all Mach theta functions. His mathematics is beyond understanding of any present day people. So what John McKay did, Concordia professor, found that one of the connection between them, that is hidden dimensions is giving how the hidden dimensions are found out through mathematics. That part, hidden dimensions. So what John Mackay was found out is what is hidden dimensions. I tell you best example of Indian Hindu story there. There is a Bhagavad Gita. Hindus play, Bhagavad Gita, Ramanujan's favorite ones. Bhagavad Gita is Hindu, the dogmatic kind of a epic book. In that book, the Lord Krishna was a god. He shows the transcendental form to his disciple Krishna, Arjuna is a disciple during the war, but he wants to show multi-dimensional form of him to his disciple. But he says that you cannot see me. I'm going to give you a special divine sight to you, so you can see all my entire universe. What is the entire universe of 11 dimensions? I'm everywhere, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. I'm everywhere, all the places, all the times. That is the one, that mathematic, that is the transcendental form of Krishna. So that hidden dimensions you cannot see unless you have a divine sight. But hidden dimensions in mathematics, you need a mathematics to see. That's what they gave hidden mathematics to see the hidden dimensions. So that's what John Mackay found out, the connection between the physics and the hidden dimensions of the physics. String theory was evolved from there. That John Mackay, from professor from Concordia, found out that connection. He published a paper. He became very famous, actually, that Ramanujan's modular functions, connection between the modular function of Ramanujan and him. It is a when I was doing that, I was so surprised. Concordia was involved in that fun. So what is Amanda, you were talking about data set, data. If you use it really, I have a problem with it, to be honest with you. Because in Silicon Valley, these people, $500 billion, $1 trillion, they want to spend on data centers. Is if you don't understand the nature, you need a brute force mechanisms, or if you don't have intelligence. I think intelligent things, you don't need that kind of a data requirement. You teach intelligence, that is enough for really find out. If you understand the nature's code, you can understand a lot of these things. That's what you need to teach, understanding the nature. That is what Ramanujan mathematics gives into preview to that intelligence, through mathematics, the formalism. So that is theory. He died in 19. He died a long time ago, 1920. He died, but let me tell you, his mathematics just lit the fire in him. A lot of people working on his mathematics. Black holes, for example, the entropy of a black hole is based on Ramanujan mathematics. The entropy of the black hole on the surface, that they store the information paradox, was solved through Ramanujan mathematics. String theory, for example, that higher dimensions, that string theory, higher dimensions, is all these things came from Ramanujan inspired mathematics. For example, microorganisms, all the viruses and bacteria, they're all billions and trillions. That's infinite numbers, can be dealt with the Ramanujan mathematics. He understands it. Even ATMs, cash distribution is the integer partition system. He found out the partition system through this one. So there is a movie was done, Infinity, The Man Who Knew Infinity, by Dev Patel in England. It's a wonderful movie. If you have not seen it, see it, please, on Amazon. It is really a great movie. That was Ken Ono, the professor, was as a consultant for that, actually. It was a fascinating movie. How a brilliant mind 100 years ago, the technology still we are understanding there is a lot of powerful people working on some of them are my friends, actually. So what is that Ramanujan mathematics can tell you in biology is the cancer cell signals are all weak signals. You can detect it through that strange signals. You can extract the patterns through Ramanujan mathematics. Brain signals, for example, neural connections. We spoke of the Bobby Kasturi. He was working a connectome, a huge the system that he's working on. He did that. Those kind of things. Ramanujan mathematics really shines. So there is a lot of people working on it. A man who lived 100 years ago, He produced it from mathematics in a kerosene lamp, produced it mathematics with infinite series. Is a complex, still we are understanding, we are trying to understand. He gave a 3,900 ideas, theories, and probabilities. He gave it is Miranda Chang of Paris. She is a pioneering. Manjul Bhargava, I know him. Manjul Bhargava from Princeton University, mathematician. Actually, I met him. He looks like a student. He was working on the number theory. And then John Duncan is from Emory University from Atlanta. Ken Ono, I was telling you, they're all very the powerful minds of the world working on this one, including Concordia. Some of them are working with the John McKay students, probably working there. But the Shamit Kachru is another friend of mine. He's from Stanford Research. He did work on these monster groups. These are the that is I want to mention you that's one of the things is I just a little complex, but I'm going to do that. I said that monster moonshine. I did. What is the groups are sporadic groups. These are groups of. So you take a snowflake. How many ways you can rotate? The only one way. Then it is no difference when you rotate. So all these operations you do, these are part of the groups. They make it. But there are groups that they don't fit in any group. That's called a monstrous group. I don't know why they put a moonshine, because you have to drink a moonshine or something. I don't know. So to see those dimensions, to see the numbers. But, Susan may know about it a little bit more. Yeah. So moonshine mathematics is a mathematical background, actually, that to find hidden dimensions. So that is a group that working on. Thank you for watching. It is a that connection. I loved it. So that's I wanted to talk about that. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Amanda. It is totally an honor and privilege to have you.
Thank you.
Fantastic learning, Amanda. Thank you so very much. We really do look forward to hearing from you again. I cannot wait to see where you go from here.
Yes.
And all your colleagues.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.